I stopped looking into his eyes somewhere between deadlines, bills, and the dusty sunsets of Montana. He used to wait for me on the wooden porch of my small ranch near Bozeman. The wind would sweep through the open fields, kicking up the scent of dry earth and hay, and there he was, wagging his tail as if I were still the best part of his day. For years, I told myself he was fine. He had room to run. He had food. He had a warm barn in the winter. What more could a dog want? But on the night the storm rolled down from the mountains, on the night the sky tore open with thunder, he was the only one who didn't turn his back on me. And if he hadn't been there, I wouldn't be here to tell this story. If you believe in second chances, if you've ever regretted something you did too late, this story is for you. Here, we share stories of faith, redemption, loyalty, and those quiet moments where God moves when we least expect it. Before we continue, subscribe to the channel and join our community. Sometimes, a single story can touch exactly the part of your heart that needs it most. Now, let me tell you about Toby, and about the night God used an old dog to save my life. It was late summer in Montana when I found him. The air smelled of dry grass and gasoline, and the distant mountains looked still, indifferent to anyone's pain. That morning, I had signed my divorce papers at the courthouse in town. I remember standing on the concrete steps, thinking how an entire life could end in such a mundane way. On the way back to the ranch, I saw a cardboard sign in front of a feed store: puppies, free to a good home. I wasn't looking for a dog. I was trying to outrun the silence. He was the last one in the box. Brown fur, paws too big for his body, and eyes that seemed to look past the moment. When I knelt down, he didn't bark. He just looked at me, steady, as if he had already decided I belonged to him. I took him home to my small property surrounded by open fields and constant wind. The white porch creaked under our steps. The sky felt too big for such an empty house. I named him Toby. That first night, he slept beside my bed. Not on the rug. Not by the door. Right beside me. As if he knew I needed someone who would stay. The first years with Toby were the lightest I had after the divorce. The ranch no longer felt so vast or so quiet. In the mornings, he would run through the fields while I fixed fences or fed the horses. In the afternoons, we'd sit on the porch to watch the sunset paint the sky orange and red over the mountains. I talked to him like he was a person. I told him about my fears, the overdue bills, and the loneliness that still crept in on cold winter nights. Toby was always there, lying at my feet, breathing slowly, as if to say I wasn't alone. He grew up strong, loyal, protective. If a stranger approached the fence, he stood between me and the world. Not out of aggression, but out of care. For a long time, it was just the two of us. I used to think he needed me to survive. But today I know, it was I who needed him. And maybe that's why it was so easy, years later, to start assuming he'd always be there. That his presence was guaranteed. We never imagine that what feels eternal can also grow old. Over time, things began to change. I managed to expand the ranch, started selling more, and doing business in the city. The trips became more frequent, the meetings longer. My phone started ringing late into the night. I told myself I was building stability, that I was securing a future. I just didn't realize that while I was chasing growth, I was drifting away from the wealth I already had. Toby still waited for me on the porch, but I no longer sat beside him. I would arrive tired, give him a quick pat on the head, and head straight to my home office. He would stay outside, watching me through the glass door. The walks through the fields grew shorter. The sunset conversations vanished. I kept repeating the same phrase, "I'll make it up to you later. Later I'll play. Later I'll stop. Later I'll give him my attention." But later began to accumulate like dust on the porch boards. And Toby, he began to age in silence. It was almost unnoticeable at first. A little more struggle to climb the porch steps. A longer rest after crossing the field. A muzzle turning white. I saw it, but I didn't want to truly see it. It was easier to say it was just tiredness. That he was still strong. That we had many years ahead. One afternoon, while I was organizing papers at the kitchen table, Toby brought over the old blue ball we used to play with. He dropped it at my feet. I was on the phone, hammering out a contract. I pushed the ball aside with my foot and said, "Not now, Toby." He didn't insist. He just picked the ball back up and went back to the yard. At the time, I felt nothing. But today, that scene haunts me. Because that's when I started losing something precious. And I didn't even notice. His eyes didn't have the same energy as before. But there was still something there. Hope. And I was letting that hope die slowly. The years passed faster than I cared to admit. Toby no longer ran to the fence when I arrived. He walked slowly. Sometimes, he'd just lift his head in recognition and go back to sleep. I started leaving him in the yard longer. I told myself he preferred the fresh air. That country dogs love space. The truth? It was easier not to face his gaze. Inside the house, I occupied myself with reports and calls. Outside, he occupied himself with waiting. There were nights I'd see him through the kitchen window. He'd sit there staring at the door, just like he did years ago. Only now, I didn't go out. I convinced myself he understood. That he knew I was busy. That he didn't need me like he used to. We lie to ourselves in very subtle ways. I thought I was being practical, but I was being absent. And absence, even when silent, is heavy. I just didn't know how much it would eventually weigh. That night, the sky changed color before the sun even vanished. The mountains were draped in dense, almost purple clouds. The wind began to howl, kicking up dust across the field. I was alone on the ranch. The radio warned of a severe storm approaching. High winds, lightning, possible power outages. I should have checked the fences. I should have brought in the tools. But I decided to leave it for later. When the first thunder echoed, the whole house seemed to shake. The power cut out minutes later. I was left in the dark. The wind lashed against the windows. The rain started heavy and horizontal, as if the sky were dumping everything at once. Then, I heard a sound from the barn. A metallic crash. My heart raced. I grabbed a flashlight and, without thinking, ran out into the rain. I didn't realize that decision would nearly cost me my life. The ground was slick. The rain had turned the dirt into thick mud. The flashlight trembled in my hand as I made my way toward the barn. The wind was deafening. As I got closer, I saw that part of the side structure had given way. One of the wooden beams was hanging, swinging dangerously. I got too close. In a split second, a violent gust blew, and the beam fell. I tried to jump back, but I slipped. I felt a sickening impact on my leg. The pain was immediate and sharp. I tried to get up, but I couldn't. The mud held me down. The rain blinded me. My phone was inside the house. I was alone, hurt, in the middle of the storm. And then, I heard a bark. Not loud, but steady. Toby. He was there. Even though he was old. Even though he was weak. He had followed me into the rain. Toby approached with difficulty, but determined. He began to bark repeatedly, as if trying to call for help, even though there were no neighbors close enough to hear. I tried to stay conscious. The pain in my leg was intense. The beam had pinned part of my body. "Toby, go." I whispered, but he didn't go. He started pulling at the hem of my coat with his teeth. Trying to drag me. Trying to move me. It was impossible for an old dog to do that. But he wouldn't stop. The rain soaked his thinning fur. His movements were slow, but persistent. At one point, he ran back toward the house. My heart sank. But seconds later, I heard the sound of a door slamming against a wall. And then, the distant sound of my truck's horn. He had pushed the door open. The wind had done the rest. The horn went off when something pressed against the steering wheel. It was enough noise to draw attention. The continuous blare of the horn echoed through the storm. I don't know how much time passed. Minutes felt like hours. But eventually, I saw headlights cutting through the rain. My neighbor, who lived nearly a mile away, had heard something strange in the middle of the night and decided to check. When he found me, partially trapped under the timber, Toby was lying right beside me. He wasn't barking anymore. He was just leaning against me, as if he were making sure I kept breathing. I was taken to the hospital with a serious leg fracture and mild hypothermia. The doctors said if I had stayed out there much longer, it could have been fatal. When I woke up in the hospital room, the first thing I asked was, "Where is Toby?" My neighbor lowered his eyes, and in that moment, I understood. Toby didn't make it through that night. The age, the cold, the effort. It was too much for his tired body. He stayed with me until the very last second I was on the ground. He didn't leave. He didn't give up. While I had ignored him for years, he never stopped loving me. He never stopped protecting me. Back at the ranch, after I recovered, I buried Toby near the fence where he used to wait for me. I planted a tree there. Now, every afternoon, I sit on the porch again. No phone. No rush. The wind still blows through the fields. And sometimes, when the sun sets behind the mountains, I can almost see him running again. Sometimes, life gives us second chances. Other times, it gives us lessons. Toby taught me that love isn't noise. It's constancy. He taught me that loyalty doesn't depend on immediate reciprocity. It depends on character. And he taught me that we should never leave for later what matters today. If you still have someone waiting for you, a person, a friend, an animal, don't wait for a storm to realize their value. Love them now. Be present now. Look them in the eyes now. If this story touched your heart, subscribe to the channel and share in the comments. Have you ever left something important for later? I read every message. And I hope this story reminds you to never ignore those who love you in silence.